Prisons are built to confine, to punish, to break men down until nothing remains but silence and stone. But what happens when the silence isn't empty? When footsteps echo in abandoned corridors? When whispers rise from the walls? Tonight, we're walking through 5 of the most haunted prisons and prison-like places on Earth. From America's crumbling penitentiaries to the Tower of London itself, where history bleeds into legend. Stay close, keep your lights steady, and don't look back if you hear someone breathing behind you. Opened in 1829, Eastern State was one of the first true penitentiaries. Its design was revolutionary. Isolation, silence, and reflection. Prisoners lived in stone cells, alone for years. The Quakers who influenced it believed solitude would lead to penitence. Instead, it broke minds. Men scratched messages into the walls. Some screamed for days, others whispered prayers to no one. The system was abandoned in the early 1900s, but the suffering never left. Tourists and staff report the same chilling encounters. Shadows darting down corridors, doors slamming without cause, and disembodied laughter echoing through cell block 12. One guard swore he saw figures standing at the end of a hall, dark, human-shaped, but when he raised his light, the corridor was empty. The sound of pacing footsteps in locked cells, phantom weeping behind sealed doors, and figures in tattered prison uniforms appearing only to vanish when approached. These are common reports. Imagine, you step into a cold, decaying corridor. Your flashlight beam lands on a cell, and for a moment, you're sure someone's standing inside, watching, waiting. Alcatraz, the Rock, a place built to be inescapable. From 1934 to 1963, it caged America's most dangerous criminals. Al Capone, George Machine Gun Kelly, the Birdman of Alcatraz. But the bars weren't the only thing keeping them in. Fear was. Inmates whispered about an unseen presence in Cell Block D, the dreaded solitary wing. Cell 14D was called the Hole. Men sent there often came out broken, terrified. One story haunts the prison's lore. An inmate thrown into 14D began screaming through the night. He swore something with glowing eyes was in there with him. Guards ignored his cries until the screaming stopped. By morning, he was dead. Officially, he strangled himself. Unofficially, guards whispered they saw claw marks around his throat. Even now, visitors report cold spots in D Block, doors that rattle and sounds of sobbing. Rangers tell of footsteps following them through empty corridors. Some even hear banjo music drifting across the wind. Capone's ghost, still strumming in his final days of madness. Imagine standing in the hole, lights out, the air thick and heavy. Then, breath on your neck and a whisper that isn't yours. Port Arthur began in 1830 as a penal colony for the worst of Britain's convicts. Surrounded by wilderness and ocean, escape was nearly impossible. The punishment system was brutal: hard labor, silence, isolation. The separate prison at Port Arthur forced inmates into hoods, total silence, and solitary confinement. Many lost their minds. Some never spoke again. When bushranger Martin Cash was held here, he wrote about the suffocating silence, men whispering to themselves just to hear another voice. Today, Port Arthur is a preserved historic site and one of Australia's most haunted. Visitors report ghostly children playing, shadows crossing in locked rooms, and a woman in gray gliding silently past the cells. One of the most famous haunted spots is the parsonage, where a clergyman once lived. His ghost, pale and solemn, is seen pacing the halls. At the separate prison, tourists often collapse in terror after feeling invisible hands grip them. Walk those halls at night and you'll hear it: the shuffle of boots, the sob of a man who should have been freed long ago, and the quiet, desperate plea, "Please, don't leave me here." Built in 1935 by the British, Old Changi Hospital served colonial troops and families. But during the Japanese occupation in 1942, Singapore fell into shadow. While official records don't confirm torture inside the hospital itself, legends claim the Kempeitai, the Japanese secret police, used its wards for interrogation. Rumors of blood-stained rooms and cries in the night have clung to it ever since. The hospital closed in 1997. Since then, it has become a decaying husk. Paint peeling, windows shattered, corridors swallowed by vines. And inside, silence that isn't silent. Visitors tell of white-clad apparitions drifting across halls, a nurse carrying a child, a boy sitting on a ward bed, staring out a window, eyes hollow. Soldiers in uniform glimpsed in broken mirrors. Some swear they hear crying in the pediatric ward. Others see shadows that glide through walls. In one tale, a figure in white turned with no face, just emptiness, before vanishing into the dark. Step into Block 24 on a stormy night. The air is damp, heavy. A sob rises ahead of you. You chase it, but the corridor is empty. And when you turn back, the door you came through is locked from the other side.